Money makes the world go round, the world go round.
Well, greetings from Castle Goring. I'm afraid it's not possible to have Mickey and Aurora in the picture with me, but they are on the bed with me. However, at the moment, I am still laid up, and in fact, I am happenstancely dressed. Let's put it that way. But I'm here. I had a very nice trip back. My son Dima drove me in his, what's it called? An Audi SUV. Perfect height, perfect everything, perfect configuration for the trip back. At the hospital, they said they didn't think I'd need an ambulance if I could get into Dima's SUV, which I did. And I have to tell you, I cannot sing the praises of King Edward VII and their staff highly enough. Everybody was just absolutely wonderful. I am still in my traveling clothes. Sorry. Very unglamorous, and in fact, my traveling clothes, believe it or not, or except for the trousers, which are my own, are my son's clothes, because my clothes were not suitable. So, anyway, today I'm going to celebrate my arrival back home by keeping things hopefully relatively light. And if we can maybe have a bit of fun, that will be good. So don't expect anything earth-shattering. The trip took it out of me. I mean, it was, as trips go in the circumstances, as comfortable as it could have been. But that doesn't mean it was comfortable. So, Carol Summers Burke says, I hope you have an elevator or a room on the main floor all set up. Just take it easy and don't rush the process. Peace and best wishes. Carol Summers Burke is but one of many, many people who have been very kind and sent me lots of lovely messages, and I cannot thank you all enough. You have no idea how much it means to me. In fact, I was put into the car when I arrived at Goring. My other son, Misha, and a dear friend called Mirek, who is going to be helping me out. They greeted me with the wheelchair, put me in the wheelchair. Fortunately, I have a lift. I have to tell you, if I didn't have a lift, I'd be in big trouble. And they wheeled me into the lift, got me upstairs, wheeled on what I call the family floor. My boys have their own wing in the east wing, and what I call the family floor is the top 2 floors of the main building, the rectangular, as opposed to the wings of the castle. And on the first of those 2 floors is my bedroom, my bathroom, the upstairs gallery, which dead opposite my bedroom is the family dining room at the other end of the gallery. And the family drawing room is off it, and then the family kitchen, and blah, blah, blah. And so I was duly wheeled to prevent hassles. I was wheeled. We pulled up as many of the rugs as possible, and then I was wheeled in through the family kitchen, the family dining room, neither of which is carpeted, because the wheelchair isn't good on carpeting. Then through the gallery into my bedroom and bathroom, which, because when I was doing up the castle, Charles, who was one of my late Springer Spaniels, Charles was sort of incontinent. So, knowing that, I said to Carlyle, let's lay down laminate on top of the oak, because otherwise his pee would have seeped into the wood and it would have stunk. I said, so let's, and so we did that, and I've kept it because it's very practical to have laminate with puppies and dogs and cats, and it means that I do not have any rugs to worry about in my I have in my bathroom, but not in my bedroom. So, and we're just picking up all of the rugs. So I'm in situ, absolutely wiped out, I've got to tell you, but so pleased to be back. And so, without further ado, I will stop wittering on about myself and plunge in with what Text True says. If the Kardashians end up letting Meghan be in a reality show with them, then we know this whole photo bit was a stunt to create the narrative of conflict. Conflict sells. Yes, and the Kardashians are very expert at what sells. Nudity sells. Tapes of the second part of the sex name sell. Will it happen? Let us see. I think they're all publicity fiends, and you know, the Kardashians have made a very great deal of money and a very great success out of raising vulgarity to new heights while sinking it to new depths. I actually admire their work ethic, but I cannot say I admire much of their content. And to me, it's a matter of constant astonishment that they have been as successful as they have been. But I suppose that shows that I'm out of step with a large percentage of the population. Playa says, thank you, Lady C, for all your hard work. I admire your intelligence and your work ethic, and I appreciate your sophisticated look at things. Thank you. I completely agree that the Kardashians are crude and tasteless, and I never thought once in my 72 years on the planet that all money is good money. Chris and Kim are a lot of things I do not respect, but they are hard workers. Here in America, it has been said for quite some time that while the devil works hard, Kris Jenner works harder. Well, she's obviously doing something right. She's ended up making all of them multi-millionaires, if not billionaires. And they are very feted and respected in many quarters. Let's not forget, for instance, in terms of Vogue and Anna Wintour. I mean, if I'd been the editor of Vogue, I can tell you something, Kim Kardashian wouldn't have got near it. But then again, I would have put Melania Trump on the cover because she is a very attractive woman. But they put her on the cover before Donald went into politics. Once he was in politics and they don't like his politics, they didn't put her on the cover, notwithstanding the fact that the protocol used to be that all first ladies were offered the cover of Vogue. Isn't it tiresome when politics becomes so toxic that you can't even accommodate the president's wife on your cover because you don't like his politics? I thought we lived in a democracy. I think a lot of people don't understand what a democracy is. Or, as the Americans would say, they live in a constitutional republic. Well, whatever. The fact of the matter is it's also a democracy. And democracies require that you respect the government that is in power, whether you like it or not. How very old-fashioned of me to actually not deplore that which I don't agree with. Catherine Spinks says, amazing to me that Harry has never had a desire to contact Tom Sr. Well, you don't know that Harry has never had a desire to contact Tom Sr. I know as a fact, through a friend of mine who is a former member of a royal household and who was in St. Lucia, if I remember correctly, at the time that Harry was on an official visit, that he tried to chuck so he could celebrate Thanksgiving with Meghan, her father, and her mother. This must have been 2016, I suppose. Must have been 2016. I'm sorry. I'm so drugged up that, and I've never been great on math, but unless it was 2015, but whichever it was the first year that Harry and Meghan were together, and he hired, can you imagine hiring a place to have Thanksgiving dinner for your beloved parents? What's wrong with their houses? I mean, I get full catering. That's fine. But hiring a house, as if to say your own house isn't good enough? What's wrong with a simple and a humble abode? I mean, that shows how completely pretentious Harry and Meghan are and have always been. I don't know what you think, but that's what I think. And I know as a fact that Harry tried to be there for Thanksgiving dinner with Thomas Markle Sr., Doria, and Meghan. So all the cock and bull that they have come up with since is totally negated, not only by the comments she has made about how wonderful her father is over the years leading up to her having closed the deal with Harry, as Trevor Angelson so accurately put it. But that any justification for the falling out is not justifiable. Either she was lying through her back teeth then, or she's lying through her back teeth now. And I know which one I believe it to be. And in fact, I know which one I know it to be. Maria Crespo says, Hola, could you please address Catherine's looks later? I think she is thinner and more fragile, but maybe it is my interpretation. Thanks. I wish you the fastest recovery possible. Thank you. I'm doing my best. They were pleased with me at the hospital. You know, when one has challenges, one has to try to rise to them. So, but thanks for your good wishes. Catherine is actually no thinner now than she was before. Well, maybe 3 or 4 pounds. But basically, she's the same size. She is more fragile because she has been through a most traumatic incident. Chemotherapy is an assault upon the body to preserve the body from a greater assault. So, of course, she's fragile. Also, after chemotherapy, your energy ebbs and flows. And, you know, let's remember, she's been cleared. She hasn't been cured. It takes 5 years to get the all clear for a cure. So let's just remember that. I think she's doing splendidly. I think she makes a monumental effort. And I think she's very fortunate because she is a natural athlete. And being a natural athlete, she has a strong constitution and she has strength. So she's lucky from that point of view. She's also lucky from the point of view that the original issue was such that they were able to discover that she had the cancer that she does. Otherwise, it could have galloped through her system and they might not have discovered anything about it until it was too late. You could almost say that the discovery was serendipitous. She's a very lucky girl, very. But does she look ill? I don't think she looks ill. I think she looks relatively fit. I mean, I personally would like to see her pack on an extra 10 pounds. But that's just my taste. Certainly when I was her age, I didn't have a spare pound. So I can see why she doesn't have a spare pound either. She's a stunningly striking woman, and she has a wonderful figure. And all of that requires discipline, and all of that requires thought and care. And it requires sacrifice as well. And I think it's to her credit that she's prepared to do all of that, to put forth her best foot at all times and in all ways, shapes and forms. I don't know what you think, but I think that she's extremely admirable in many ways. Just an opinion, really. Love it. Says, Dear Lady C, it just occurred to me that we are watching the difference between old and new money. Well, I think you are referring to the display that we have, because of where the question was placed, of the Kim Kardashian, Kris Jenner's 70th birthday party, Meghan Markle, Harry. Oh, yes. But I actually see nothing wrong in the vulgarity of new money. I mean, I may not function like that. I mean, I've never had the money to be able to. But even if I did, I can tell you something, I would be functioning in exactly the same way as I function. I would have the exact same taste. I would comport myself in the exact same way. So I certainly wouldn't be flashy the way they are. For instance, I do not like the modern grotesque boats. I prefer things like the Sea Cloud or the Christina, older boats. I certainly, if somebody wanted to give me a nice ocean-going vessel of 250 or 300 feet, I wouldn't say no. But I'd like it to be between the wars. So I suppose you could say I like raffiné things. But that party, those people, I think Jeff Bezos and Lauren Bezos are actually, and I've said it before, extremely stylish. I think they may be archetypally vulgar in the eyes of many people. Certainly, their taste isn't my taste, but I think they have an integrity about them. And I think they have a joyousness about them. And I think they have a luxuriance about them that is actually rather admirable. I don't have to agree with someone's taste or like it to recognize the fact that in their sphere they excel. And the exuberance with which the Bezoses display their physical attributes, I think is very touching. I think it's, he's like the 15-year-old nerd who's now hot at 50-something. And she certainly seems to be the match that has lit that fire. And she conflagrates at the same rate, to put it bluntly. Kim Kardashian, I'm afraid I get the picture. I can see that it has merit. I think she tips over into grotesque vulgarity in a way that Lauren Bezos never does. Kris Jenner, I think she actually looks fantastic. And I don't see her tipping over into the grotesque displays of bad taste that her daughter Kim is so adept at executing with the flair and the total lack of embarrassment that she does. It's all very new money, and it's new money without taste. But it's new money with exuberance. And, what Harry makes of it is, well, I was going to say is anybody's guess, but I know what he makes of it. And I think it's very unfortunate that Harry, who's never really had good taste, but has always had the soul of an oik and the, shall we say, predilections to match, has ended up with a creature that is utterly tasteless. And unlike Lauren Bezos, who is frankly and exuberantly and integrally vulgar in a very life-enhancing way, Meghan doesn't have that integrity. Meghan is just an affected piffler, a pretentious wannabe, always aiming to somehow pull it off, and very seldom managing to do so. The biggest mistake she ever made was to fall out with Jessica Mulroney, because when Jessica Mulroney was dressing her, she at least had the smatterings of integrity, and she had the smatterings of taste and style. Now, no matter what she does, it's always off. There's always something wrong. I mean, for instance, at the Kris Jenner's 70th birthday party, what sort of a cockamamie outfit is that to wear? I mean, she's trying to be classy. Megsy baby, if you're going to be classy, try to spell class with a C instead of a K. Unbelievable. The woman misses at every turn. She just can't help herself. Reality Check says, it's not surprising to me that the Democrats have been asking for a full disclosure of the Epstein files, while their Democratic appointed judges are blocking them. Now the Republicans are getting ready to pass a bill to disclose all of the files. Once the Senate votes on it and President Trump signs the bill, it will become law, and we shall see who the truly guilty ones are. One of Obama's right-hand men has already resigned in disgrace. The first of many heads to roll, one can project. Let's put it that way. The point has to be made that Jeffrey Epstein was basically a Democrat. Most of his closest friends and associates were Democrats. Oh, he was a cross-party seducer, so to speak. But basically, he was a Democrat. And most of the people in his circle are Democrats. What is really interesting is why Jeffrey Epstein was toppled at the time he was. Remember who was in power? Trump was in power. But it's not the Republicans who set out to destroy Jeffrey Epstein. You know, sometimes when you double and triple bluff, you end up catching yourself in the trap. I agree with Alan Dershowitz. Expose everything, reveal everything, and let the chips fall where they may. I get why successive governments, not only the Trump government, but the Biden government, have tried to keep a lid on things because it is so revealing of corruption at the highest level, not only in the United States of America, but in its allies' territories as well. And let's also remember that Jeffrey Epstein was Jewish, and Jeffrey Epstein is supposed to have been a functionary of Mossad. And Lex Wessler also is Jewish and has been a great supporter of Israel. And I think that at the end of the day, what is going to be revealed about the complicity between the American state and the state of Israel and the cross-border pollination, and how very often people thought they were rich enough, grand enough, and important enough to function beyond the law. I think it's going to come back to bite a few people. And Dershowitz's point is one that I have made before. Reveal all, because if you don't, those who have something to hide and are complicit and guilty are going to be able to hide behind the skirts of those who are not guilty of any crime. And they may be guilty of greed and associating with somebody who was extremely rich, powerful, but let's not forget, very well connected and very interesting. According to people who knew Jeffrey Epstein, putting aside his decadence and his perversions, he was a brilliant mind, and he was a fascinating individual who had the ability to attract fascinating individuals of the highest caliber. So many innocent people are being snared unless everything is revealed and you see who's guilty and who isn't. But I'm also going to make a point that I've made before, and I'm going to make it again because I think a lot of people seem to miss the point, which is that Jeffrey Epstein's perversions and decadence will not have been on open display the way the mainstream media and the general public now seem to think they were. They never were. I know this. Jeffrey Epstein was a hate figure in our circle, and we didn't know. If we didn't know, why would anybody else have known? And I mean, the idea that a pervert was going to go around proudly proclaiming his perversions is ludicrous. That's not to say that he didn't have playmates. And let's remember, Bill Gates's marriage broke up because of his association with Jeffrey Epstein. And it's not the financial association that Mrs. Bill Gates objected to. It was the personal associations. And let's also not forget that President Clinton's portrait in Monica Lewinsky's blue dress was in Jeffrey Epstein's townhouse. I know an awful lot of people are hoping that their targets will be eradicated, but I don't think it's going to work like that. Once everything comes out, you're going to see that an awful lot of people who you hope were guilty are not, and a lot of people who you might hope were not guilty are. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. Please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what you'd like us to be speaking about. And Godspeed. If you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and what's it called again? Surge? Oh, I've forgotten. Sorry. It's all the drugs. Sorry. Surge. It's not Surge. Oh, gosh. Sorry. Thank you so much. Godspeed and goodbye.